And now it's time for us to enter into the readings once again. Let us pray as we enter into this time of the scriptures. Invisible God, give us the hearts to see the things that our eyes so easily overlook. Open our hearts to feel the things that our hands cannot touch. Open our hearts to hear the still, small voice, which sounds like only silence to the listening ears. Teach us to know you for what you really are, not flash or thunder, but love, softly spoken, flowing like a fountain, bathing the soul and the skin with your deep and abundant treasuring love. Amen.
We join in the reading that begins on page 47 of the Readings for Holy Week, either in a hardbound personal copy or in the PDF of this book made available through email or on the From the Pastor blog on the Kernersville Moravian Church website. Remember that we will omit certain hymns as we move through the text. Let us enter into the words of Scripture, journeying with Christ the King.
We come with rejoicing on our lips, praise in our hearts.
Who then is the faithful and wise slave whom his master has put in charge of this household, to give the other slaves their allowance of food at the proper time? Blessed is that slave whom his master will find at work when he arrives. Truly I tell you, he will put that one in charge of all his possessions. But if that wicked slave says to himself, my master is delayed, and he begins to beat his fellow slaves and eats and drinks with drunkards, the master of that slave will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour that he does not know. He will cut him in pieces and put him with the hypocrites, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Then the kingdom of heaven will be like this. 10 bridesmaids took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 of them were wise. When the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them. But the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps. As the bridegroom was delayed, all of them became drowsy and slept. But at midnight there was a shout.
Look, here is the bridegroom, come out to meet him.
Then all those bridesmaids got up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish said to the wise,
Please give us some of your oil. Our lamps are going out.
But the wise replied,
No, there will not be enough for you and for us. You had better go to the dealers and buy some for yourselves.
And while they went to buy it, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went with him into the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the other bridesmaids came also, saying,
Lord, Lord, open to us.
But he replied, Truly I tell you, I do not know you. Keep awake, therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour.
For it is as if a man going on a journey summoned his slaves and entrusted his property to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. The one who had received the 5 talents went off at once and traded with them and made 5 more talents. In the same way, the one who had the 2 talents made 2 more talents. But the one who had received the 1 talent went off and dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those slaves came and settled accounts with them. Then the one who had received the first 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 more talents, saying,
Master, you handed over to me 5 talents. See, I have made 5 more talents.
His master said to him,
Well done, good and trustworthy slave. You have been trustworthy in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter in the joy of your master.
And the one with the 2 talents also came forward, saying,
Master, you handed over to me 2 talents. See, I have made 2 more talents.
His master said to him,
Well done, good and trustworthy slave. You have been trustworthy in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master.
Then the one who had received the 1 talent also came forward, saying,
Master, I knew that you were a harsh man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you did not scatter seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what is yours.
But his master replied,
You wicked and lazy slave. You knew, did you, that I reap where I did not sow and gather where I did not scatter? Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and on my return I would have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to the one with the 10 talents. For to all those who have, more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who have nothing, even what they have will be taken away. As for this worthless slave, throw him into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will put the sheep at his right hand, and the goats at the left. Then the king will say to those at his right hand,
Come, you that are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me.
Then the righteous will answer him,
Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick or in prison and visited you?
and the king will answer them,
Truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me.
Then he will say to those at his left hand,
You that are accursed, depart from me into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not give me clothing. Sick, and in prison, and you did not visit me.
Then they will also answer,
Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and did not take care of you?
Then he will answer them,
Truly I tell you, just as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me.
and these will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life.
When Jesus had finished saying all of these things, he said to his disciples,
You know that after 2 days the Passover is coming, and the Son of Man will be handed over to be crucified.
The chief priests and the scribes were looking for a way to arrest Jesus by stealth and kill him, for they said,
Not during the festival, or there may be a riot among the people.
Then Satan entered into Judas, called Iscariot, who was one of the 12. He went away and conferred with the chief priests and officers of the temple police about how he might betray him to them. They were greatly pleased and agreed to give him money. So he consented and began to look for an opportunity to betray him to them when no crowd was present.
Then came the day of unleavened bread, on which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. So Jesus sent Peter and John, saying,
Go and prepare the Passover meal for us, that we may eat it.
They asked him.
Where do you want us to make preparations for it?
Listen,
He said to them,
when you have entered the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him into the house he enters, and say to the owner of the house, the teacher asks you, where is the guest room, where I may eat the Passover with my disciples? He will show you a large room upstairs, already furnished. Make preparations for us there.
So they went and found everything as he had told them, and they prepared the Passover meal. When the hour came, he took his place at the table, and the apostles with him. He said to them,
I have eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat it until it is fulfilled in the kingdom of God.
A dispute also arose among them as to which one of them was to be regarded as the greatest. But he said to them,
The kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those in authority over them are called benefactors. But not so with you. Rather, the greatest among you must become like the youngest, and the leader like the one who serves. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one at the table? But I am among you as one who serves.
During supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him,
Lord, are you going to wash my feet?
Jesus answered,
You do not know now what I am doing, but later you will understand.
Peter said to him,
You will never wash my feet.
and Jesus answered,
Unless I wash you, you have no share with me.
But Simon Peter said to him,
Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head.
Jesus said to him,
One who is bathed does not need to wash, except for the feet, but is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you.
for he knew who was to betray him. For this reason he said, Not all of you are clean. After he had washed their feet, had put on his robe, and returned to the table, he said to them,
Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you as an example, that you also should do as I have done for you. Very truly, I tell you, servants are not greater than their master, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them. I am not speaking to all of you. I know who I have chosen. But it is to fulfill the scripture. The one who ate my bread has lifted his heel against me. I tell you this now before it occurs, so that when it does occur, you may believe that I am he. Very truly, I tell you, whoever receives one whom I send receives me, and whoever receives me receives him who sent me.
As they were eating, Jesus said,
Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me, one who is eating with me.
They began to be distressed and to say to him one after another.
Surely not I.
He said to them,
It is one of the 12, one who is dipping bread into the bowl with me. For the Son of Man goes as is written of him, but woe to that one by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that one not to have been born.
The disciples looked at one another, uncertain of whom he was speaking. One of his disciples, the one whom Jesus loved, was reclining next to him. Simon Peter therefore mentioned to him to ask Jesus of whom he was speaking. So while reclining next to Jesus, he asked him,
Lord, who is it?
Jesus answered,
It is the one to whom I give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish.
So when he had dipped the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas, son of Simon Iscariot. After he received the piece of bread, Satan entered into him. Jesus said to him,
Do quickly, what are you going to do?
Now no one at the table knew why he said this to him. Some thought that because Judas had the common purse, Jesus was telling him, buy what we need for the festival, or that he should give something to the poor. So after receiving the piece of bread, he immediately went out, and it was night. When he had gone out, Jesus said,
Now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God has been glorified in him.
May you go out into the dailiness of your life with the grace and the peace of God. Go, carrying with you the Lord's blessing and promise to keep you. Carrying with you the knowledge that the Lord's face is lifted and shines upon you, giving you graciousness in all your days. Go, knowing that the Lord's countenance is lifted upon you and seeks to pour peace and comfort into all the days of your life. Amen.